Hello and welcome to Traditional Chinese Medicine, Kinds of Herbal Medicine, Part 2. My name is Christina Kapothanasis, and I am a licensed acupuncturist here in the state of Hawaii. I am nationally board certified under the National Certification Commission for Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine. I am also the Executive Director of the Hawaii Oriental Medicine and Acupuncture Association. Today is a continuation of our last episode on understanding the different kinds of herbs. So today I'm excited to put all the parts that we learned together last time and see how we deduce the different functions of the herbs. So to recap briefly, the herbs can have different thermal qualities. For example, the honghua is warm, where the huaihua is cold, the huanglian is cold, and the houpu and the sanyuro are warm. We also have different parts of the plants, so we have seeds here and berries, we have flowers, leaves and twigs. We have bark and lots of roots, some foods like grains and beans, and this is the peel of an orange. And then we have some animal and mineral herbs. Those comprise a small part of the herbal medicine pharmacy, but for example we use rocks like shigao or hua shifen, and we use animal parts like the ground seashell powder that we have here, or the turtle shells, bones of large animals, and deer horns, to name a few. But today we are going to try to put together the warmth and cooling qualities of each herb. We were going to put together what organ it has an affinity for. For example, the qianzi we discussed has affinity for lungs and kidneys, where honghua is heart and liver, the juhua is the lungs and the liver, huanglian is heart and stomach and large intestine, tenpi is your digestive system, caihu goes into your liver and gallbladder, and so we have different associated organs with each herb, and then they always have their own flavors, which is not always bitter. So we have sweet, and we have some bitter, we have salty, we have sour, sweet, I always forget them, sweet, bitter, spicy, not necessarily like chili pepper spicy, but a dispersing quality, something like when you have spearmint gum and you feel that dispersing quality. So how do we put those all together to create their functions? Each herb, modern herbs are categorized in terms of their functions, their specific functions on the body. So we will go through some of the main categories, and of the herbs that I brought to show with you today, I will help you exemplify each one of those. Releasing the exterior, as we discussed last time, colds are usually energy that's trapped in the exterior and needs to be released, and the flavors that are associated with releasing the exterior are usually the spicy or dispersing flavor. It can also be a little bit sweet, and it can be either warm or cold. The organs that they have affiliations with, usually the lungs for colds, because lung controls our nasal passages, but it can also have affinities for different organs. We have an example here, sangye. Sangye and juhua, the chrysanthemum flower, the flower and the leaf are excellent for releasing the exterior. The green leaf that you see here, sangye, and the chrysanthemum both enter the lungs as well as the liver. So these herbs would be excellent for a hot cold because they are cold in nature. And if you're having a cold accompanied by the pressure behind your eyes, that hot burning sensation, or headaches, then these herbs would also work very well. If you're having the cold that has a dry, rough, irritated feeling in your lungs, then the sangye also has a moisturizing quality to it. And we can see that because of the sweet nature, and as you remember, sweet is usually moisturizing the dryness, or it calms, or it's boosting deficiencies. So in this case, the sweet quality will have a moisturizing effect on the lungs and help your dry cough heal faster. If we look at another releasing the exterior herb, I will mention cai hu, which is a common herb. It enters the gallbladder and the liver. It also enters the lungs, and it has an affinity for the spleen. The extraordinary thing about herbs is they're not used for just one thing. We don't say you have a cold and we take out only cai hu. We'll actually put together several herbs into a formula depending on your symptoms. We can use this for a cold, releasing the exterior. This is also for a hot cold. If you start with a sore throat and possibly yellow phlegm. But we can also use this because it enters into the gallbladder and the liver. We can use this to help people with mild anxiety, because anxiety from overstress usually causes the liver to bind up, the qi to get stagnant, and this helps disperse some of that qi. So it's excellent for also colds, and then we can use it for mild anxiety. And then another function that it has, because it enters into the spleen, is that it helps the spleen qi rise. Spleen qi's natural direction goes up, stomach qi's direction goes down, and the spleen and the stomach work together as the root of our digestive system. So why do we need the spleen qi to go up? It helps for things like prolapsed organs. You can have prolapsed stomach. Stomach is a little bit lower than it should be. Prolapsed rectum, prolapsed bladder, everything that's falling down in the body that we need to pull back up, we can help slightly with cai hu and its spleen raising energy. Now also I can use these exterior herbs that we mentioned, the sangye and the juhua, to help with high blood pressure. The liver, if you have liver fire rising, then you may need to help calm down the liver fire, and it might be good for high blood pressure. It might be good for sleep. I actually use these exterior herbs on people that have insomnia, and you can also use these herbs for people that have eye problems because they enter into the liver, and we know in Chinese medicine that the liver controls the eyes. So this is how Chinese medicine gets exciting. You can be very creative. Chinese medicine is part science and part art. It's a puzzle. Every person comes in with a slightly different set of symptoms, and you can choose. If they have a cold, but they also have high blood pressure, then we may go for the sangye and the juhua over the cai hu. And if they have sinking qi or weak qi or a bit of anxiety along with their cold that they may be suffering, the sangye might be a better option for them. So if we look at the next category, we have clearing of the heat. Clearing of the heat can be excess heat, damp heat, can be qi heat and blood heat, can be deficient heat, and we have zhizi here for clearing damp heat, as well as huanglin and huangbo. We have shensen, which will nourish the yin. So it's sort of like a dehydration kind of heat. You don't have enough fluids in the body, and therefore you get heat. And then we have detoxifying and clearing the heat. So the baihua sisi cao over here is a different kind of clearing the heat herb. So if we're going to start with the baihua sisi cao, this one is a small leaf flower twig collection, and it's excellent for clearing the heat and detoxification. This is one of the best known anti-cancer herbs out there, and so we use baihua sisi cao to clear heat and detoxify for cancer patients who exhibit the more warm signs. If we look at the zhizi, then this is clearing damp heat from the system. The zhizi can clear heat from the sanjiao. It can clear heat from your heart, your liver, your lungs, and your stomach. So this is bitter and it's cold, so we know that the bitter is drying and the cold will help to dry out the bitter dampness. And since we know what organs it goes into, we may use it for people that have a variety of heat factors. If the heat is in the lower abdomen, then we would pick the huangbo. This is another drying and bitter herb, but this goes into the kidneys and the bladder, so we will work more with the reproductive organ area and the urinary tract system for taking out damp heat for infections, vaginal infections, or urinary tract infections, among other things that are damp, cysts and polyps in the reproductive organs. Whereas if you needed to dry out the dampness in your heart or liver or stomach, then we might, or the large intestines, we might use huanglian, because huanglian will go into the large intestines and help with diarrhea. It will go into the heart if you have excess heart fire, and it will help you sleep by calming down the heart fire, and it will also go into the stomach. So if you have halitosis or bad breath, if you have toothaches or swollen gums caused from excess heat, then we would also pick the huanglian over the zhizi or the huangbo. So we can see the different kinds of clearing the heat herbs. We can also nourish the yin and clear the heat at the same time. Xuansen is an excellent herb. I use this for many heat conditions here for patients. And it is detoxifying, it is cooling, and it nourishes the yin. It enters into the lungs and the digestive system in terms of stomach and spleen. So the lung point, we can notice that if I want to use this herb to clear heat in the blood, I can, but because of the lung, I can also use it for heat in the throat. This is especially good for tonsillitis or different kinds of sore throats. And because it's good for the digestive system and because I know it cools the blood, I can also use it for example, gynecological problems where the woman has excessive bleeding. I can use it. I can use it for people that have different kinds of inflammation in the body, or different types of arthritis or unexplained inflammation and pain in the body. This one isn't clearing the heat. Another one that I use is expelling the wind and dampness. This usually means for pains in the body, different joint pains, shoulders, knees, elbows, toes, whatever you may feel pain, and sometimes it's some kind of arthritis, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, and the list goes on. The example that I brought for you today is the sangjisen. Sangjisen is the leaf twig part, and this actually goes into the liver and the kidneys, so it's good for dispelling the wind and going into liver and kidneys, which will help remove some of the pain. The thermal property is neutral on this one, so it can be used for either hot pain or cold pain in the body. Joints that respond well to heat compresses or ice packs, we might choose different herbs, but this one you can use on both of them. Another function that this has, by building the liver and the kidneys, we know that this is also building the blood in the body. The blood and the kidney essence are interchangeable. Blood is responsible, is held by the liver, and the kidneys hold the essence. So this herb is also good for nourishing the blood, and it also has the function of keeping the fetus calm to prevent miscarriages. So we may be able to use the sangjisen to prevent miscarriages. We can also use the caihu, a small amount of caihu, which has the rising qi function to help keep the fetus calm. And the zuru is another way to keep the fetus calm. So with the 3 herbs we have here on the table, we would need to pick, if they have more of a damp condition, then I could think of using the sangjisen with the liver and kidney deficiencies that they have an affinity for. If they're more of an anxious kind, that's a little bit of a heated person, the Taihu would be better because it's cooling, it goes into the liver. If they have a spleen deficiency, I might need to raise their spleen qi to help keep the fetus calm. And then we may need to select the Zuru if the pregnant woman is having more of nausea and vomiting and displaying effects of dampness, a sticky condition in the body. So this is a cooling herb, and it goes into the spleen and the stomach, and it helps transform the damp heat in the body, which is responsible for the nausea, partly responsible for the nausea that pregnant women feel. So this is an excellent herb for taking that away. As you can hopefully start to see, we put together thermal qualities and the spiciness, the flavors, and the organ affinities, and we can try to put together the functions. So another function of this one is calming. We have a category of herbs that are calming, and now they have different functions to calm. So the Swanzalren are actually in the calming category, and they are calming by helping people with liver and heart blood deficiency. The seeds go into the liver and the heart. They help build the blood. They are sweet, so they help calm, and this would be one of the herbs we would choose for calming. Though another category is drying the dampness, which is used for the juru, the bamboo. We also might use this for people who can't sleep well, because the juru is responsible for not only helping to control the nausea and vomiting, but it also helps take out the irritability of people, because people that don't have a strong digestive system, their sleep will be disrupted by the dampness in their digestive system. So then we get to think, okay, why is the person not sleeping well? Do I need to nourish their heart and liver blood, or do I need to take an herb from the damp category, from the drying dampness function category of herbs, and we can choose zuru, or the bamboo, to help calm the irritability down and help them sleep. Now, if they have an excess heat kind of personality, always having a big temper, blowing up, high blood pressure, red face, and overindulging on rich foods, and they can't sleep well, then we're going to give them some of the extremely bitter huanglian and flush out the heart fire and help them to sleep better. So we're back to the cooling category of herbs. So we're picking and choosing from all of the different categories, and we will, like I said, pick more than one to put together in a formula. It's usually about 10 to 15 different herbs. The circulating the qi, or the energy in the body herbs, we can circulate. There's two categories: circulating the qi and circulating the blood. Circulating the qi, mostly these two herbs I brought today, the chenpi and the houpo. As I explained in the last episode, will help for the digestive problems more. We help the spleen to wake up and digest the food better, so you don't feel so sluggish, so you don't have to cough up phlegm in the morning, so that your digestion is better. It has that dispersing, or slightly, not spicy isn't the best translation, but a dispersing flavor, so that helps, that we know that it moves the qi around. These chenpi, the peel of the orange, goes into the spleen and the stomach, so we will know that we're trying to move the digestive qi around, whereas the houpo can also enter into the lungs, move the qi, and has a downward action, so it can help quell the asthma attacks, the wheezing, and the difficulty breathing. And it can also, the downward effect of the qi can help with a bloating, a stronger stagnation in the digestive system, which it also has an affinity for those organs, and it can help promote bowel movement for people who have qi stagnation in their digestive system. Whereas the blood circulating herbs, which I chose one today to bring, the honghua, will circulate the blood. So that means any heart problems, any clogged arteries, any gynecological cysts and fibroids, any even keloids in the skin, any kind of growths and tumors, all of these things that have masses in the body, we can use. One of the categories that we use is the circulating the blood herbs like the honghua to help move the blood, and it also helps for people with infertility. So this one is entering the heart and the liver, and it's excellent for gynecological problems and also for pain, people that have cramping or different pains in the body. That idea of circulating the stagnant qi in the body, we get things moving, and sometimes pain will be alleviated. We also have the categories of calming the liver and extinguishing wind. The powder that I brought for you today is the ground up oyster shell powder. This one is excellent for calming the liver, which also can be seen in the stereotypical high blood pressure patient who indulges on rich foods and has the trouble sleeping. This herb is cold. This herb is salty. This herb enters into the liver and the kidneys and the gallbladder. So the functions that we can pull out from that are that it's going to help cool down the liver. The saltiness actually helps to dissolve masses in the body, so any kind of growths or tumors that you may have. And it's also good for helping to hold things in. So going into the kidneys, people that have problem controlling urination or that have frequent urination will also be able to help them with that. And then it's also helpful for the excessive sweating and for calming. So if we can calm the liver fire down that is rising and disturbing the heart and making them feel anxious, then we will be successful in making them feel a little calmer. The Swanzauren, though it's from the calming chapter of herbs, and this one is from the liver extinguishing chapter of herbs, we still might choose the muli, the oyster shell, over the Swanzauren if we can tell that they have a liver kidney yin deficiency arising from the excess yang. So this is very exciting to be able to choose the different herbs and put the pieces of the puzzle together to make the patient feel their best. We have herbs that boost deficiencies, and those are some of the most commonly used herbs. I use so many of the nourishing the yin properties for people here in Hawaii because people on this island on Oahu where we are tend to run hot. You can blame it on the fog, you can blame it on the trade winds and the warm weather, but people really do tend to run warm here, and it's usually a dry kind of warm yin deficiency. So the herbs that we use are the sweeter herbs. So the yuzu is probably the sweetest one we have here, and it is going into the lungs and the spleen or stomach. It's excellent for not only dry coughs, but it's good for dry mouth and diabetes. We have shihu, which is another herb that is good for nourishing the yin or the fluids in the body. It also goes into the kidney and the liver. So this one will be excellent for, again, liver controls eyes. It's good for any eye problems that you may have. And this is used for people who have extremely red tongues with thin coating. This one is very nourishing to the yin. Whereas if we want to build the qi, we may use taizisan. Taizisan is a small root that's part of the ginseng family, and this one is not quite as warm as ginseng. I choose this one because it's also helpful to build up the yin in the body, the fluids, at the same time of building the qi. So this one is going to enter into the spleen and the lungs, which are responsible for creating the qi in the body. So we will use this one, taizisan, for people who are running a little bit more dry to build their qi, whereas if somebody was colder and needed to build qi, we might use rensen or the regular ginseng. One of the last categories, the last couple categories that we'll cover today are the astringent and the stopping the bleeding. So the similar qualities of stopping bleeding and stopping different things from coming out of the body, like vaginal discharge or sweat or urine or semen. The example I brought for you today for stopping the bleeding is the very small flower buds called huaihua, and they are cooling. They are entering the large intestine, so we will know that the cooling of the blood slows down the blood. The function of this herb is to stop the bleeding from the rectal area. So if you have any blood accompanying your stools, then we would probably use the huaihua among other herbs. Whereas if you have bleeding from your lungs, we may use a different herb, or from your urinary tract infection, accompanying urinary tract infection, we may use something like bai mao gun, because that will enter the bladder and the kidneys. If we look at the astringent herbs, astringent is also one of the flavors that we discussed. So astringent function herbs help keep things in the body, like people who have trouble controlling urination or controlling sweating for deficient people or controlling ejaculations. This sanyu ro has the sour flavor, which is the astringent functions of the herbs, and it's warm. It goes into liver and the kidneys, so liver controls the reproductive organs. That's why it's responsible for people who have trouble with controlling their ejaculations, and it also goes into the kidneys. That's why it's good for people who have trouble controlling their urination. So I hope that we have helped you see the different qualities of herbs and how we put those together to deduce the different functions of the herbs, and how several different herbs can be used in different scenarios for different patients, and how exciting and fascinating it is, the art of Chinese medicine and the creation of the herbal formula. I'm sorry we didn't have time to discuss how to prepare the herbs. We'll save that for another episode. And until next time, thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye.